my schedule's tough right now. I wanted to come out to your area because you're in South Texas, right?
Yes, sir.
What part of South Texas are you in?
I'm down in McAllen.
Okay. So is McAllen right at the border?
We're right close to the border. Hidalgo is a few miles down the street, closer to the border. They're right on the border, and then McAllen's next.
Okay. Yeah, I do some traveling podcasts. I just went to Waco last week for a guy named Milking, or he runs a dairy farm. And it's called Milking. So I do travel around Texas. So maybe one day we can connect in person.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. And we used to go to Houston a little more often. We haven't been there in a few years, but with our rub business, we're planning to make a little more road trips. We have a travel trailer that we don't use very much anymore, but we've been talking about that. Like, okay, we need to clean up our trailer, and we need to hook up and just go stay in a couple RV parks here and there and travel around to promote our brand, right? Our rubs.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of in our plan for this year, but we have so many videos already lined up, it's like, man, that's what sells the rubs is the videos. So we're pretty much just doing that all the time, 24/7, it seems like. Man,
so the whole reason this started is because you look exactly like my dad's first cousin. And
really?
Me and my brothers would send your videos back and forth because y'all have the same mannerisms, the same mustache. And we were like, man, this guy is probably our family member. We don't even know. So
that's pretty cool, man.
That's what
he must have been a handsome dude.
Yeah. So that's kind of what started this whole thing. Me wanting to reach out to you and have you on the podcast. Your videos, dude, are everywhere. Like every time I log in to Instagram, I see one of your videos. Was that planned that way, or did it just kind of happen?
It just kind of organically, naturally has been happening, to be honest with you. We just, we've been on YouTube and social media for several years, but we weren't like real consistent, like every day or every other day. We're just like, okay, hey, let's do this one. And then next week or next month, let's do this one, And what we figured out was that I call it the algorithm monster. He likes to be fed. And if you feed him regularly, he grows bigger and fatter, right? That's kind of like my little analogy, if you want to call it that. So we figured out that if we're more consistent in our posting in all the platforms, they perform better, and the algorithm pushes it out more, I guess, and that's probably why you see it more often. And it's a team effort. It's me and my family. It's my wife. She does a lot for us. She helps me a lot when we're recording, and she is the #1 dishwasher in the country. And one of my sisters was talking the other day. She was telling my wife, she's like, "Oh man, I got this dishwasher. I love it." And then my wife's sitting there, and I go, "You know what? I have one too. I love my dishwasher." And my wife's like, "Oh, shut up."
Yeah, teach you to talk mess, man.
But yeah, and so anyway, it's a family thing, and both of my kids are in the photo video industry, and so my wife and I do all the recording. We upload, and they download. One's here in Austin, where I'm at right now, and the other one lives in Chicago. And that's where all the main editing happens. And then my son here in Austin puts the final touches on it and uploads a lot of it. I do some reels, and my other son, the one here in Austin, does some of the reels. And but the long form videos, it's a whole big team effort.
So before social media, before you started posting, how long did you have the business? Is it mainly a rub business, or do you have other stuff that you sell as well?
Mainly it's the rub business, and then the merch that goes with it now, which we don't have a lot. It's mainly t-shirts. We have some caps there was a big dry spell with the caps where you couldn't get them, and I have a guy that usually makes them for me, and he hasn't had any in a long time for whatever reason, and I think he does now, but we just haven't had time to connect. Which getting shirts and caps made is a huge challenge in South Texas because there's just so many of them, and they all make for big companies and schools and whatever, and we're just a little guy, right? And so it's hard to get somebody really on our page, but we've been able to do okay with the shirts. So we have that, but actually the rub business we started in, I want to say around September 2 years ago, somewhere around there, maybe October, November, somewhere around there. I don't remember exactly, but the rub business is only a couple years old at the most. And that's just, again, that was kind of we got pushed into that, not necessarily pushed, but it's like it fell in place. It's more like a serendipitous thing because of COVID, right? I mean, we've always wanted to have a rub business because we've always been cooks, and we were on the competition trail for 20 years. and we're very successful at it. So that was what we did full time from 20 late 2012 all the way through 2018. I mean, we basically paid our bills competing on the competition circuit. Barely some months, but we did. And so we always wanted to have a rub business and create our own spices, because I would always, in the competition world, it's all about that one bite flavor. So I'd be mixing this one and blend it. Okay, we take it at home. We think that worked. Well, it needs a little more of this, a little bit more of that, And so I always had that idea, like, okay, I got to come up with my own, right? Because I'm mixing a bunch of different stuff to come up with this flavor profile. And when COVID came around and we were all at home, it was like, okay, let's start playing with this stuff, And some of it was through encouragement with my son and my wife, and like, yeah, just go ahead and do it, and mix it and match it and whatever. And so we finally came up with a recipe. It took us 6 months to come up with wow, to get the flavor profile that we really felt was good enough to be in the marketplace, because there's so many good ones, not just ours. I mean, there's a lot of great rubs out there. Some of them are friends of mine. And so I worked long and hard, and my wife and I mean, we tasted so much steak, so much fajita, so much chicken, whatever, right, during that interim. And our dogs were really loving us because, they got to eat a lot of barbecue meat. So anyway, that's kind of how we came up with that, the first rub. And then we have another one, that's the wow. And then we have another one called OG, which to me, OG stands for the original all-purpose seasoning. And I call it that because when I was growing up, in the old days when we were kids, we were running around playing tag and freeze and all that sort of stuff. My dad and my grandpa were doing the cooking, and that's what was the all-purpose rub at the time, was salt, pepper, garlic, right? And so we've always had this blend we use at home that I've mixed up, for years, and we just use it on everything. It's basically our table salt. And so I told my wife after the WOW launch and it was successful, I said, you know what? I wonder if people would be interested in just a simple everything rub, right? It's not a comp rub. It's not necessarily a comp rub. It's not necessarily just for this or just for that. It's good in everything. We use it on our guisados, on our caldos, on the menudo, just everything. And so we decided to go ahead and roll the dice and put that one out, and it's been super successful too. Pretty much as successful as the WOW. If not lately, it's actually kind of been outperforming it, which we were like very surprised. But it's a very simple rub, but it's like somehow we just hit that perfect ratio and everybody loves it, and so it's really good for us. And then we just launched our brisket rub about a month ago approximately, and it just like sold like crazy too. It's been wild. So we're on a really good ride, and we're in a good place. I mean, the good Lord blessed us, and it's a family affair for us, and we're just very humbled and grateful that we're able to do what we love to do, and things just kind of fell in place, really.
That's fantastic, man. It's a cool story and how it happened throughout COVID. That seems like that's happened a bunch. Entering the seasoning and rub game, man, that was a big undertaking because there's so many companies out there.
A lot of them, yes.
Did you kind of almost talk yourself out of it before?
No, not really. Actually, we approached it in a very kind of a timid way when we finally said, okay, let's do this, right? And our co-packer, there's a lot of co-packers too, and so you have to kind of research that and see who you think will be the best fit for you. And then you have the big shipping situation too. So the further away you are, the more shipping costs, which add to your total cost per shaker. So we reviewed all of that, and we had already been talking to one, which is the biggest one in Texas, and we're very comfortable with them for a couple of years. And they were very patient with me too, sending me samples over and over and over till we got it right. And so they're just really wonderful people to work for. And it's Bonus Fiesta here in San Antonio. And they're just really great people to work with. And so we kind of approach it timidly because, and here's the thing people don't understand, you have to have this huge investment, to get a reasonable price, a per shaker price, so that you can bring it to the market and to the consumer at a reasonable price and still make a reasonable profit, right? Somewhere all in between there, right? And so we approached it a little bit timidly. Our first order was like 54 cases, which is, there's 12 shakers per case. And we were kind of like, oh man, I hope it sells within 90 days, because it's like $8,000, or whatever, right? And so we're like, okay, but because we already had a pretty good sized social media following at the time, we launched and we started to put it out there, and we actually sold out in 4 days. And we were like, what? What just happened? Wow. We were just blown away. So I immediately put an order in for a lot more, about 5 times more than that. And it was, again, during this whole COVID shortage situation thing. It took us 2 months to get another order into the house. And so just kind of, we were like, where is it? We need to sell it. People are asking for it and whatever. And so it was exciting and nervous at the time because we wanted it and people were asking for it. And we were telling them, wait, be patient. And so since then, that was the situation at the time. And then the label shortage happened and there was problems with labels and things like that. And so we just, once we knew it was good and people liked it and everybody was making good comments about it on social media and it was taking off more and more, we just buckled down and said, all right, man, we're going to just, roll the dice. And we invested a bunch more money and just ordered a bunch. I'm talking like 6,000 shakers at a time, of each one. And so we built a big rub room. We thought at the time it was a big rub room. I air conditioned it so that we can have, climate control and all that. And now we're like, we need a bigger room. It's full all the time with just 3 rubs. And we're working on the 4th rub right now, actually 4 and 5. And we feel like 4 and 5 is kind of all we need. I know there's a lot of guys out there that have 20 rubs and 50 rubs or whatever. I just kind of feel like it's all the foods are kind of the same, and all you need is salt and pepper or salt or just a nice blend for kind of whatever you cook, whether it's in the kitchen or in the backyard in the barbecue pit or, wherever. And so that's kind of what we're going to try to just focus on and be good at those 5 rubs once we get those out. Now, of course, we're trying to get more merchandise done too and whatever, but it's just, it's a huge challenge. I think we live in a time frame in world history where we're all so busy and we're going 100 miles an hour and there's so much going on. And just keeping up with social media now that, our channels have grown is a huge challenge. It's a very, very time consuming thing, and I'm a very hands-on, I want to say customer oriented type person, like I like to answer every message, every email, everything. My son handles a lot of the collab and a lot of the emails that have to do with that because I don't have time. And so we have him on our team and he takes care of that. And like I said, my other son works in the editing up in Chicago and takes care of that. And so it's just been a huge challenge. My wife monitors my YouTube most of the time, and if there's something that needs attention, she'll tell me, right? And I take care of Facebook, and we kind of all pop in and out of TikTok and Instagram once in a while, trying to stay on top of it all. That's the part people don't see. It's a huge challenge just to stay on top of that, because I want my followers to know that I care and that I do want to answer their questions, and so that's a huge challenge too. On top of everything else, recording videos is such a huge job. Nowadays phones are so good, you can kind of do everything on a phone, but we're a photo video camera kind of company. That's how we started, and you really do get much better editing quality and overall finish quality with good cameras. And so, we started with small cameras and then we graduated to mid-level cameras, and now we have some nicer cameras, and they're not even still anywhere where we would wish we could afford these other bigger cameras, right? But maybe someday we'll get there too, but we try our best to put out good content that people will enjoy, and that, there's this huge market of people that want to learn how to cook. And I say we're fortunate because I grew up on a farm. My dad cooked all the time. He was the foreman. Our house was the party place, and so they were always cooking. So I was around it all the time. And, when I got into the competition world and we were barbecuing, and before Facebook and all this other social media, we had forums, right? There was barbecue forums and other forums. And so I was a member of a couple of those. And there was always people asking, how do I do this? How do I do that? I would say 70-80% of the comments or questions on those forums was new people wanting to learn. And so when we decided to build our channel, we built it with that in mind, that hopefully we can help people learn how to cook better. And that's our goal. And of course, try to make it fun and entertaining at the same time. you know, I'm just me. I'm just trying to be myself, doing what we love to do, and hoping that there's enough people out there that enjoy it. And so far, it's been good, you know. And we get a lot of great comments, a lot of shares, a lot of good messages, a lot of good emails, you know. And so we're just very, very humbled that people actually like what we do, and you know, and we're blessed.
What were you doing before this took off? What was your real job, I guess?
Okay. Well, before the full time competition trail, which started, like I said, late 12, 13, I was a car dealer and pretty much was mostly a car dealer most of my, a car salesman most of my life. And then I moved into management and I worked for an independent car dealership in Westlaco. And we had 3 stores and I was the GM. So we had a big sales team and, you know, a bunch of employees. So I kind of ran that. We were the number one independent dealer in South Texas and one of the top ones in Texas at the time. And during the era we were there, that I was there, and then in 2008, April of 2008, because I always loved to cook. I always catered on weekends. I mean, I worked long hours. The car business is 80 hours a week, 70 hours a week, especially in management. And then I'd go home Saturday evening, you know, fire up a big brick pit that I had built at the house. I had a 42 by 96 brick pit, Central Texas style, you know,
Yeah.
all bricked in with the flat lids and things like that.
Yep.
I built one of those in my backyard. And so I'd cook 20 briskets on a Saturday night and have people come pick them up on Sunday, you know. So I just always enjoyed cooking a lot, right? And at the car dealership, at our store, the main store, we had 12 salespeople all together, right? But in our store, we had usually anywhere from 5 to 6 salespeople at all times. We all like to hunt, we all like to fish, and we all like to barbecue. So literally, we cooked barbecue 6 days a week at the car dealership. Nobody went to lunch because we were all barbecuing, right, every day. And then I'd go barbecue on Sundays, right? And sell barbecue just for fun, right? Just because I enjoyed doing it, and people enjoyed my food. So in 2008, April of 2008, I bought a restaurant that belonged to my wife's brother-in-law, and he was gonna just shut it down. And I said, "Hey, why are you shutting it down? Let me buy it from you. You know, I've always wanted to try restaurant business, right?" And my banker was like, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it." I was like, "No, I want to do it, man. I think I'll be successful in the restaurant business." Of course, I went in there blindly, not knowing much of anything about the restaurant business and how it operates compared to the car dealership and stuff. But it was a passion, and if you remember what happened in May of '08, you
Yep.
know, everything crashed.
Yep.
And so it was like, oh crap, you know, man, what did I get myself into? And so we ran it. We were actually pretty successful all of '08, but in '09, it was almost like if they put roadblocks on the street. All of a sudden, like there was nobody showing up to the restaurant. And we tried opening longer hours. We tried recipes. We tried, at that time, social media was just starting to come out. We tried advertising. We did a lot of things. I spent a lot of money trying to um, get back to where we were at the when I bought the in '08. And there had been like in that one year there had been 18 more restaurants open within like a 2 mile strip that I was on.
Hmm.
So I kind of always said like, okay, there's this pie. There's only so many people in this area here. The pie got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller because you know we all like to go eat and try different places and whatever. So that kind of took a little bit of work. So by April, May, we were already like, man, we're not going to make it. We need to sell this place, otherwise we're gonna die, right? So we lucked out, and I put it up for sale. I put it on Craigslist, you know, and it just so happened one of my patrons, who was in the construction business, very successful, said, "Hey, I like your place. I like, you know, the food, the recipes. If you'll leave your employees and train me, some guy, you know, he hired a chef. And if you'll train this guy to run it for me and whatever, I'll buy it from you." So we lucked out, and in July of '07, we walked away from the restaurant business. July '09, I'm sorry. And he bought it, and so we got out of the restaurant business. And then I went back in the car business for a little while, and then in 2012, like I said, late 12, we were doing a couple of competitions, and we won some big events and made some pretty good money. At that time, it was also the heyday of the oil fields, right, in South Texas, and so
Mm.
all these oil field companies were putting big money behind these cook-offs, right? And so we won a few of them, and I told my wife, "Hey, we might be able to make a living at this, you know, let's roll the dice." So we did. And you know, there was ups and downs like anything, you know. And some months we made some really good money, some months we barely got by, but it was more of a passion and a dream, and we were very successful. And in 2017, myself and another top cook here in Texas were inducted into the International Barbecue Cookers Association Hall of Fame, and that was a huge, huge, huge honor, to even be considered for that. But because we were very successful and had won a lot. The other guy honestly had won way more than me. He did it full time way before I did it, and been around a lot longer than I had. A friend of mine from I think even what's that other little town just north of Hillsboro or around West? He's from West, I think. He's from West, or right around that area. Anyway, Ronnie, just huge successful guy in the cook-off world. And so they put us both in at the same time. And it was a huge honor to stand next to him and to even be considered, like I said, by my peers to even deserve that. And so we're super grateful for that. So all of those little things, added up at the end, and that helped our social media, where we're at now, everything. And we don't really go and brag about all the previous accomplishments and stuff. We just put out good content, or what we think is good content, and we hope people enjoy it. And it's a challenge to come up with new and interesting ideas. And we also go back we were doing mainly just barbecue, right? But if you follow some of these barbecue people, it's like, okay, here's another brisket, and like they're doing a brisket every week, and like, to me, it's like, man, you can only do so much brisket, right? And not that we don't love it, because we do. You can only cook ribs with butter and sugar so many times, and so we just started doing a little bit of kitchen cooking, what we grew up with. We thought people would enjoy that, and it's been kind of like the other side that carries our channels. People love Mexican food. People love Tex-Mex food, and so we decided we would try that and share a few of those recipes. And here's a cool story, right? We were doing a charro beans video. If I'm talking too much and you want to ask questions, stop me anytime.
No, keep going, man.
I'm car salesman, so I talk.
This is good, dude. Keep going.
Yeah. And so anyway, we were doing this charro beans video, and of course, rice and beans in South Texas for us Tejanos, Mexicanos, that's kind of a thing, right? And we enjoy eating them that way. So I asked my mom, hey, Mom, can you make some rice? So when we're done with the video, we kind of enjoy a little bowl of rice and beans. And so we had the cameras out already, and we were kind of in a little lull while we were waiting for the rice. So I told my wife, I'm going to just kind of handhold and record the rice, and I'll send it to my son, have them edit it and put it up there too as a separate video. And so we did that. I sent it, and my son, who he's our we call him our agent, our manager, our creative director, because he's good. He's very good at what he does. And he's like, nah, Dad, nobody wants a rice video, man. And you didn't shoot it right, because it wasn't like, the way we normally shoot a video. It was just kind of like boom, 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 right?
Right.
And I said, yeah, man, I think people would like a rice video, it goes with the beans anyway, people like rice. It goes with every freaking dish that we cook, in our culture. And he's like, nah, we'll get to it. He kind of he thought I was going to forget about it. He kept putting it back, putting it back. And I kept hammering him. And it was literally like 6 months later, maybe 8, before he's like, finally gave in. Like, you're not going to give up, are you? No, I'm not. Put it out. And so we put it out. And before that, our first 1 million view video on YouTube was fajitas, right? And that rice video already doubled views of the fajita video, and I said, you see, the one we least thought was going to perform actually outperformed everything put together, so it's a challenge to try and figure out what's going to work, and some of the videos that we think are going to really pop don't. I thought for sure our loaded potato with brisket and stuff was going to be a huge hit, and it just kind of it's there, but it didn't take off. And the rice did, the beans did, the fajitas just went, super viral. And so we're just kind of trying to put out stuff that we think people will enjoy cooking and enjoy eating. And so that's kind of our vision, to just continue to do that. And we are doing collabs now with different companies. And so it's turned into a full-time business, doing videos, and honestly, we were doing them mainly to promote our products, our spices and stuff, right? But it just kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger. Like I said, as long as we keep that little algorithm monster fed, it keeps growing, and it's been all organic, it really has, and hard work. That's the part people don't see, right? Because a lot of my videos, I'm taking the bite, and the only thing that'll make this thing better is a nice cold beer, And so people think we just sit around barbecue and drink beer all day, right? But it's really not like that. I mean, we might record 2 videos in a day, so we can have a day off during the week. And I'm at midnight, sometimes 11:30, 12 at night, answering emails, answering messages, and doing stuff like that. And we get up in the morning and over coffee, we're talking about our day. What are we going to do? I mean, my mother lives with us and she likes to cook. So we have to give her space and time to do her thing too. And, we're a normal household. You got a dog running around and people coming over, stuff like that, family. And so we have to kind of, that's the different challenges that we face every day, that to get these videos out. And so far, like I said, it's been great. We're very happy. We're very blessed and feel very humbled and honored that people actually enjoy what we're putting out.
Yeah, no, you come across very personal and like a relatable person. I think that's why people relate to your content so well. And you're just obviously a likable person, and it bleeds through the screen. You can feel it on that. That's cool that you turned your passion into your business. It's like, I think that's the ultimate dream for a lot of people, is you just stayed at it for a long time. And people might think that it happened overnight or you became an overnight success, but clearly you've been doing this for over a decade,
Yeah, for a long time. And when we were on the competition circuit and Facebook came out and we started doing that. And a lot of other top teams, what they would do, they would post when they win, right? Or when they were successful at an event. And that's all they would ever post. Me, I'd be like, man, we went to Austin today. We cooked in XYZ town. We got our butt whooped. All we got was a 3rd place chicken. And people kind of appreciate the honesty and the sincerity there. And so I've kind of tried to bring that to our channel. Just, I screw up too when we're cooking. I'll tell you another good story, man. We made a fideo video, right? I burned 3 boxes of fideo to come up with the one that actually, we didn't burn it. It was the last box in the house. We're like, we better not screw this one up. But it was just, you're sometimes in a hurry or you forget this, and it's me and my wife, and just goofy stuff that happens. And so we also throw some of those bloopers out there too. And I think people like those and they appreciate that, we're just normal people and doing what we like to do, but we're human, we're just human. And we make mistakes like everybody else.
So do y'all not script your content, but do y'all plan out the videos for the week? Like on Tuesday, we're going to do a bean video, or Monday, we'll do a fajita. Do y'all do that weekly?
Yes. We have a whole list of, right now, for the next 90 days, we have a whole list of stuff to do. And then we just kind of keep adding to that. And as we go. And, I have ideas. My son has ideas. My wife has ideas. And so we we'll sit down. We do Zoom meetings, actually Google Meets, which is the same thing. And we talk, almost every day or every other day, at the very minimum 3 times a week. And we'll go over everything and, which one's performing, which one's not. These are the analytics and stuff like that. And we'll script an outline. I tried the whole teleprompter thing, and it's just not for me.
Yeah.
I still think I need a better one than I have, because sometimes it'll speed the process up. But I find just going through a little outline and repeating it a few times will kind of just. And my wife will sometimes tell me, okay, say this is next, this paragraph, talk about this next, talk about this next, talk about that next. That just keeps me in order, otherwise I ramble like I'm doing here sometimes.
Oh, so y'all actually have y'all do a script for the video, or kind of like an outline of what needs to be said?
It's more of an outline, yes.
Okay.
It's not really a script, it's more of an outline. Now, some of our reels, the little short content, we will write an actual script, because it's only a 1-minute video, right? And so I'll write a little, and my son will sit down and we'll put together a little, 1-minute script or 30 or 40-second script. And we will usually script the intro to most of our videos, and then I'll go voiceover and record those too. But for the most part, it's just all natural, me just trying to say something that makes sense and that people will understand and will enjoy as well. And there's also the magic of editing. I mean, sometimes I ramble when I'm recording. My wife would be like, all right, you already made the point. Go to the next thing. And so, then they edit, and take all of that excess stuff out, but we're just having fun, man. We're just doing what we love to do, and it's been fun.
Do y'all mostly do videos, or only videos, or do y'all find that images on Instagram and Facebook help as well?
We kind of have moved away from the images in the last 5, 6 months, I'm going to say. Although those are still good, and that's kind of what got us here from the beginning is a lot of images, and so we are talking about that. We kind of want to blend both, but in the reality is that short form content like reels is what the platforms are pushing and what they want, and even these big people like Facebook and TikTok and Snapchat, they pay content creators to do reels, to do the videos. And so, I look at it like the cook-offs. We would look at, okay, every weekend there'd be 10, 15 cook-offs in Texas to go to, and I'd be like, "Where's the biggest prize money? We're going to go chase the cash because that's how we pay our bills, right?" And so we kind of try to do what, obviously, as I said, what's good and all that for the followers, but also what's going to help us, what will allow us to continue to create the content, because really the collabs do help. I mean, they keep the bills paid, and they help us buy the gear that we need. I mean, that's another part, like I said, that people don't see, that like in our case, we're not doing cell phone videos, we're doing high dollar editing and stuff like that, and it costs a good penny to do it that way.
Yep.
And so to come up with a quality that we like to put out, and because I'll run 2 cameras at the minimum pretty much 99% of the time, and in most cases going back, we were running 3 cameras with the overhead and stuff, but it's a lot of work, So you have to buy the gear and the equipment that goes with it, and you have to record it all, you got to upload it all, and buy all this storage space, just store all this content.
I know.
That's not cheap either anymore. It used to be free, but not no more.
Yeah, the hard drives and the cloud storage, man. Even doing this podcast, each episode is about an hour long, so I have like a stack of hard drives behind me that I have to store the episode. So I feel your pain on that, man.
You can definitely relate.
It's a lot of work that goes into it, but it's fun. And so where do you sell only directly to people, or your stuff is like in stores as well?
No, we have both. We have a website, pitmaster.us, on Shopify, and that's another thing we're working on to build a better website. My website is ArnieTex.com, and there's a link there to our Shopify page too, or you can just go to pitmaster.us, and that takes you straight to our website. But we also have a couple of distributors that we started selling it to the markets and some stores in the Rio Grande Valley, and it was just me and my wife. So we're trying to run around the valley twice a week, make sure everybody's stocked, and still record 2 videos a week. That was like super, super hard. But we lucked out again. I want to say we've been very blessed. It's serendipity, just kind of things just keep falling in place for us, and we're very, very fortunate. And so we have a friend who owns a Pro-Tip barbecue store there in Edinburgh, and he had a guy distributing charcoal for him, and he goes, "Man, you really should talk to this guy." And I was like, man, it's hard to trust people, with your merchandise and whatever. And, we want to make sure our customers are happy and that they're being treated right and all of that. So at some point we're like, okay, we've got too many, we can't handle it, and we need to record. So we hired this guy, Carlos, and he's done a really great job. But even before he came along, he's actually expanded us more in the Rio Grande Valley, and we already had some stores in Corpus and some stores in Laredo. And so we just gave him the territory. So here, man, if you can take care of these guys for us, you can get paid for it, right? And before he even came along, we had a lady, Samantha Cherry, here in San Antonio, that has been doing that for longer. And she saw us, trying to open some stores here in Central Texas, and she reached out to us and said, "Hey, I know you're a long way in the valley. I can take care of these places for you and help you get into a few more stores." So we're like, let's do it, And so we're in San Antonio in probably 5 or 6 markets, maybe more than that now. And then we're in Eagle Pass and Del Rio. We have 3 stores in Laredo, in Roma, and of course all across the Rio Grande Valley, Edinburgh, McAllen, Far, Donna, Harlingen. And we have a couple stores in Corpus Christi and in Alice and everywhere in between there. We're in. We had one here in Austin that I think closed down recently, so we're looking for more stores in Austin, and we have some in Houston. I think we have 4 or 5 stores in Houston that Samantha takes care of. Those are her clients, and so she's done a great job too. Just an amazing lady, just incredible. And so, but we're looking for somebody to. We're looking for more distributors. We need somebody in Austin area, and I think we've been talking to a friend of mine that's in the rub business too, and but not his own. And so he may be doing that for us, and we're looking for somebody in DFW that can help us take the brand up there. So it's an ongoing challenge to run the business and find people that will take it out there. And people keep asking us, how come you're not in HEB? How come you're not in, Oklahoma? We do have some stores in Oklahoma too now, Colorado and Omaha. And that's just all because of the social media. They see our brand, they see us making videos, and people are asking for the product, so they'll reach out to us and we'll send it to them, we'll ship it to them. But obviously, like any company, you want to grow and put it in everybody's hand. That's the reason we created it, and we call this our 401k. This is our 401k. We want to build it as big and as fast as we can, so that hopefully, we can go do a little more traveling and enjoy life a little bit, before we get too old to do that. So that's kind of our thing, our goal right now, our vision.
Do you think that cooking, like the art of barbecuing, even cooking Mexican food, do you feel like that art is being lost a little bit with these new generations?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Yes, correct. Some of the older traditional things, especially in Mexican cooking, because like making tortillas is a lost art that's come away. And now you can just buy them, and we do. I mean, we buy our tortillas because my mom doesn't remember how to make tortillas, even though she made them all her life growing up. And when we were growing up, but then she, like a lot of other women in the era we live in, went to work, right? She was a manager for Walmart for a long time, and then she moved on to Ross and had a bigger position, and that's where she retired from. But, during that time, she was working like everybody else. Don't have time to make tortillas, She forgot how to make them, and so things like that, yeah. I mean, we're losing some of those older traditional things that, we grew up with. And barbecue also, I mean, I look at barbecue more like, not that we're losing, more like everything else, it's changing.
Yeah.
It's evolving because, in the old days, like if you're doing brisket, it's like, oh, it's low and slow at 225. We're going to cook it for 24 hours. We're going to stay up all night feeding that stick burner, and that's still amazing food. And that's what you get at most of your top barbecue restaurants nowadays. But they have a whole crew now. It's not just you, right? I mean, they have shifts and they cook. And but now we have pellet grills, and pellet grills are amazing. When they first started out, they probably weren't the best barbecue, but they have improved and refined and made things so much better. And the pellets have come a long way, where they don't have some things in them and fillers that they had at the beginning. Now they're like really, really great pellets. And that's something that the old school guys argue about and fight about. And the new guys are like, hey man, you haven't even tried it. You should try it. And I've seen a lot of hardcore barbecuers that hated pellet grills when they came on, that now own pellet grills, and they love them because you know what? And I love them. I have 3 of them, And so, I mean, I'll throw my briskets on, at 6 or 7 in the evening and run them on the pellet grill. And then I'll just put them in a pan with some beef broth. I'll go to bed, man. Yeah. And I have my little alarms on my things, if something goes wrong, it's going to beep, right? They usually don't, In the morning, I wrap it, and at lunch, we're eating brisket, I didn't have to stay up all night. And honestly, I've cooked some briskets on the pellet grills and served them to people that didn't know it was cooked on a pellet grill. And they're like, oh, it's so amazing. Wow, man. Wow. Like, did you stay up all night to do this? No, I had my pellet grill. No, that's not a pellet grill. Yes, it is. And just people just don't realize how good they are now. Yeah. They're really great. They've come a long, long, long way. And now we have also, I think there's some brands out there that have the gravity feed, and so that's something I've cooked on a gravity. I don't own one, but I've cooked on a gravity feed video, and a gravity feed cooker, and it was amazing. It had a guru. It wasn't mine; it was a friend's. I was doing a class, and so we used his so that I could focus on talking, and it was awesome. I mean, it cooked great. I mean, it had the guru, and the temperature would go down. It would kick in the fan, and so technology has made, in my opinion, barbecue better. in a lot of ways. Not that we're losing, but we're gaining, because the old art is still there if you want to do it. The thing is that everything is so expensive now. We live in an era where it costs more to live, from rent or house payments to light to even buying the meats is expensive. So these tools actually help us, still enjoy good barbecue while we do what we got to do to live. And so that's one of the reasons I'm a pellet guy too. And there's also the open fire stuff. It's like all of a sudden everybody likes these Brazilian, Argentinian open fire concept grills. And so everybody gets on the new thing, right? Oh, it's the new thing. It's, they're cool, they're badass, whatever. What they don't realize, I'm talking about the open fire part, is like you need a freaking cord of wood if you're going to do this on a regular basis, right?
Yep.
It's open fire. The wood just burns. It's you need a lot of wood to run those kind of grills. It's not just half a bag of briquette, and you close the lid, and next time put another half a bag of briquettes. I mean, you're burning through some wood, and they also are good ones. And there's a lot of new cheapos coming out where the metal's not very thick. So in a couple of years they're expensive and they're not going to be useful anymore. So those are the things people don't see right away at the beginning. But it's still an awesome way to cook. We do a little bit of everything, because not so much for the content as much as that I actually enjoy cooking a lot of different ways. I mean, it's just, I want to say I'm an eclectic personality in just about everything I do. I like a lot of things and I enjoy a lot of things, even like music. Like one day it's Tejano, the next day it's country, the next day it's hard rock, the next day I like even Christian music sometimes. I listen to everything. It's just the way I am. I'm very eclectic in a lot of different things, but I think barbecue's come a long way. I think we're very blessed to be in the era that we're in with barbecue, because at one point, many years back, all the barbecue places were moving towards gas grills or gas assisted grills, and the flavor was not the same. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't there. I think a lot of the restaurants were relying more on the gas than the wood part of their grills, and it just wasn't the same. And then this little guy named Aaron Franklin came back and started his little trailer with the true art of wood smoking barbecue. And he kind of set everybody straight and reeled everybody back into the art of true smoked barbecue. And now, if you're not running a stick burner, you're not a real restaurant. And I'm talking about the restaurant part of it, right? At least in Texas. And again, outside of Texas especially, there's a lot of restaurants that run pellet grills, and they do a great job. But they live in a different area than we're in, I mean, they get snow, they get ice, they get, it's hard to run, and to source wood, obviously, to run 10,000 gallon stick burners, so pellets do work. They do a good enough job where at least you keep your customers happy and they enjoy a good barbecue meal.
What about Mexican food? Like, explain what the difference between Mexican food and Tex-Mex is.
Well, that's such a can of worms.
I know.
You always have to be careful what you say about that, because somebody's going to be offended, and we try not to, but it happens sometimes. But in reality, we're in Texas, and it's not just Texas. If you follow the border all the way up to California, everything in the border basically is half Mexican, half American. And Tex-Mex to me is kind of an amalgamation or a blend of things. And here's, some this, how do you say, divisive points, if you want to call it that, or contentious points that people get into, like, and I'll just use our rice video as an example, because we developed that particular recipe between my mom and I when we were doing a lot of catering. To be consistent on a large scale, you have to use powders. Nobody's going to sit there with a molcajete this big, to make 100 pounds of rice, come out perfectly the old way grandma used to do it, So we have these tools, like I'm talking about the barbecuing tools. We have these newer tools available to us, which is granulated powders, as long as it's, good quality and whatever, that makes amazing food. And so I think Tex-Mex is a blend of true Mexican food, and sometimes we'll blend some of the American, throw it in there. And people talk about authentic, and I'm going to use my family's country, from Mexico, is alone in Mexico. It's just using the rice as an example again. Some people say, "Oh, it's not authentic because of this and that," and somebody from Mexico will be, "Well, I don't know where you grew up, but I'm in, Nuevo León, Mexico, and my grandma is 90 years old, and she does it exactly like that." And then the other one will be, "No, well, mine didn't do it that way, and I'm from the mountains of whatever, and that's not the way it's done." And the fact is, and I told this lady the other day, I was like, well, what's authentic to you? You know, maybe the recipe your grandma had wasn't authentic to begin with, because if you go a few hundred miles east or west or north or south, theirs is different, and they're saying theirs is the authentic one.
All right.
So this, in my mind, and I told her, I said, I think authentic is just really something in people's imagination, and I'm not knocking anybody. I'm not saying yours isn't authentic to you. It's authentic to your region, but my authentic is different from yours. This is what we with, and if you go a couple hundred miles the other way, their authentic is different too. Fajitas was a big contention point too for a while there when we were doing a lot of fajitas, just because they're like, that's not a fajita, that's an arrachera. Well, in Texas, an arrachera is a hanger steak, but if you go to Mexico, it's the skirt steak.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's the same thing. You just have a different name for it, because your culture, your region calls it that. This is what we call it over here, and then you have the flap meat, which is here we call it sirloin fajita. But if you go west to Arizona, New Mexico, California, they call that ranchera, not arrachera, not fajita, not skirt steak. It's a ranchera steak, and in reality, it's a flap meat is the correct butcher term for it. But here they call it sirloin fajita. And why? Because fajita is an amazing marketing term. People love fajitas, right? And so that's why they put that name on it. Because they make money by using that term. At least that's my theory. You know what I mean? But yeah, so yeah, there. I'm sorry, I get off track, but to answer the question a little better, hopefully, Tex-Mex is just, I think a blend of both American and Mexican cooking, and sometimes it's not truly quote unquote authentic, but it's still damn good. I mean, at the bottom line, and that's what I tell people. Hey, man, just cook what you're used to, and be happy. You don't have to talk bad about my way or his way or their way. I never, I see a lot of stuff that I don't agree with when I'm going through YouTube and whatever, but I don't go talk crap about them and say, oh, that's not right or that's not good or whatever, just because it's not the way I do it. That's your way. More power to you, man. If you enjoy it at the end of the day and your family enjoys it and your friends are happy with your cooking, dude, that's the way it is, man. That's your true authenticity, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, maybe authentic shouldn't be is not the right word. Maybe it's like tradition, because it's your family tradition. I think authentic is probably not the right word to categorize food.
Yeah, and like I would say, in some cases I would be like, well, what is true Mexican cooking? Are you an Aztec? Are you a Mayan? I mean, they were the ones that were there first. Right? Are you following their recipes? And I don't say that to be mean, but I'm just saying, like, hey, there's a perspective here. Stop and think about what you're saying. It's really authentic. What is true? I mean, both America here, USA, and Mexico has cultures coming from all over the world. And they bring some of their recipes, and we'll just use Central Texas as an example. I mean, a lot of stuff here is Polish, it's Czech, it's other cultures that came here. It's not truly Texas. It came from outside of Texas, And I think our whole country's that way. And I think Mexico's the same. A lot of their cuisine was influenced by French way back in the day when they started coming over. And French cooking is probably, I think, from the little bit I've researched, is kind of one of the oldest and best cooking, in the world. It went to all over the world, and so a lot of the stuff that we do and they do really came from somewhere else. So what is really authentic? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think traditional is a better word for sure when it comes to cooking, because traditional is, for me, might not be the same thing that's traditional for you.
Right. Well, Arnie, I know we're coming up on time, and I want to be respectful. How can people follow you on social media and get in contact with you?
Pretty much everything on social media is ArnieTex, like my cap here. It's ArnieTex or at ArnieTex. Look us up. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And we have a Twitter account and a Snapchat account. We just really kind of don't, haven't done much of that, but we're trying to expand. So part of the discussion in today's business meeting for today, well, that's why we're up here in Austin, is that we're going to try to expand into Snapchat for sure. And now that Elon Musk owns Twitter, I think we're going to like it better, and so we're going to try to get it back into the Twitter game. But again, like I said earlier, it's a challenge to do so much. And it's just us. It's a little family operation, but we're going to try to expand and just try to bring more joy to the people. That's kind of the way I look at it.
That's awesome, man. Well, I truly enjoy your content, Arnie. You always give me ideas to cook for dinner, so I appreciate it, man. And I'll let you know when this comes out, buddy. I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here on your podcast, and I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope your followers enjoy it. We're having a good time, and I hope they enjoy it too.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it, man. You have a good day. Later, man.
Bye. Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.